Hey guys, welcome back to Part Out. Today we're going to talk about how you can turn your Hummer H3 into a weekend warrior wheeler. They can also daily drive, but still take on some pretty hardcore trails. Let's take a look. So why a Hummer H3? Well, the Hummer H3 knocks out a few things that you want as far as an off-road vehicle goes. It comes standard with front and rear D-rings, great approach and departure angles as far as front and rear bumpers go, and not to mention it comes standard with either 456 or 410 gearing for your gear ratio. All things that you definitely want. Now what we need to do is dive into how we can make it better. Alright guys, so with a stock Hummer H3, the only way you can go is up. That's why we have the Zone Off-Road 2-inch leveling kit. Now, we have the 2-inch leveling kit because factory, your Hummer H3 is going to be sagging down in the front like that. So what we want to do is we want to push it up so it's a nice level playing field for everything as far as off-road ground clearance goes. But more importantly, we want to fit some bigger tires on there. Let's go see what we got fitted to the Hummer right now. Alright guys, so with the Zone Off-Road 2-inch leveling kit installed, we're able to comfortably fit these Pitbull 35-inch tires. Now we chose the Pitbull AT Hardcore radials because the tread pattern on them is absolutely perfect for off-road use and on-road use. So daily driving, it's going to be a smooth, comfortable ride, but when the weekend comes, you're going to get plenty of traction out on the trails. So, like I said before, we're trying to fit these 35-inch tires in there comfortably, and the first part was using that Zone Off-Road leveling kit to make sure we had enough height clearance. But the other problem we have to fix is the rims. Now, when we're choosing a rim, we have to make sure it has proper back spacing. Zone Off-Road recommends that you have 5 3/4 inch back spacing with their 2-inch leveling kit for the Hummer H3s. Now, why they say that is because for a 17x9 wheel, you're going to need that 5 3/4 back spacing because you could have the wheel turn in and it can just do some major rubbing and stuff going on all over the place. It can damage your Hummer and it can damage your tires. Both bad things. Plus, you don't want to be that guy that goes out on the trail for the first time after installing his wheels and rip up all your fender flares and have everyone laugh at you like you're stupid or something. So don't be that guy. But let me get into what back spacing is. So back spacing, here's a rim for example. We'll take it, we'll lay it down face down. We'll take a straight edge, lay it across the rim from lip to lip. We'll take a tape measure and we'll measure right from the mounting surface all the way up to the bottom of the straight edge, and we'll be right at 5 3/4 inches back spacing. Now, most manufacturers will give you the back spacing specs right there on their website, but if for whatever reason they don't, you can still figure out what it is based off the given offset that they give you. Now, offset is basically the distance the mounting surface is from the middle of the wheel. Now, when I say middle of the wheel, I don't mean this being the middle. I mean this. Now, basically how we convert it is with the given offset, say from manufacturer being 18 millimeters, because that's how offset is given, is in millimeters, so we'll have to convert that to inches, and we'll get into that here in a second. But basically, offset would be measured between the beads, which on this wheel is 9 inches, and between the beads is between these two lips here, and that would be 9 inches. We'll want to divide that by 2, which is 4.5 inches. Now, you also want to add a 1/2 inch to that number because you want to take into account the thickness of the bead, which is going to be about 1/2 inch. So right there, you're at 5 inches. Now, after you have that number, you want to take and add or subtract, because offset can be a positive or a negative. So you'll want to add or subtract the offset to that, but in this case, it'll be positive. So it'll be 18 millimeters, which converted into inches is approximately 0.71 inches. So you'll add that to your number, which would make you at 5.71 inches of back spacing. So all in all, that's how you get it. So let's move on from there. Let's talk about what wheels we have here on the Hummer. Now, there were hundreds of wheel options we could have gone with, but we went with the KMC XD series machete wheels. Now, these are a 17x9, and the specs on these came out to roughly 5 3/4 inch back spacing, which is perfect to work with this zone leveling kit. Another reason why we went with these wheels is they match the styling cues we were going for with this Hummer, and not to mention we're also going to get the KMC build quality out on the trails as well. But let's also check around the back, because there's one more thing you got to take into account with larger tire size and wheels. So let's go take a look. So another thing to take into account with a larger tire size is the tire carrier. Now, most stock tire carriers can't handle a 35-inch tire, but luckily here with the HUMMER H3 it can. Now, sometimes you'll actually need to add a spacer, but that's only if you're adding like a lockable lug nut to it where it needs to just come out a little bit further. So other than that, this is a great setup for a 35-inch tire. There's one more thing we have to do to this HUMMER to make it ready to go for everything. And let's go back to the studio to check it out. So now that the HUMMER has the leveling kit and the tires put on it, we need to make sure it's programmed to run the way that it should. So that's why we went with the Hypertech Max Energy 2.0. The reason why we chose this programmer is because it's a very user-friendly interface and it's just very simple. So all you do is plug and play, follow the instructions on the screen, and you should be able to program your HUMMER the way that it should be. Now, you want to use a programmer like a Hypertech because you can get better fuel economy, a little more horsepower, and not to mention you want to make sure that your speedometer is running the exact speed that you're going with a larger tire size. So, thanks for tuning in to Part Out. We'll see you guys next time, all right?